Ronin Mode, Unmasked Raw. Chapter 42, Amber. Warning: story contains explicit sexual language and themes. Reader discretion is advised. Okay guys, I asked you if you wanted more crazy and wild stories from my past, and after doing the poll, 80% of you said you were all adults and could handle it. So I am going to tell you the story about how me and Amber first met. If you have read the Ronin Mode, Unmasked series, then you know Amber was the wild stripper chick I brought over for Deanna's birthday. If you have not read that part yet, maybe go check it out first. I believe the year was 2003 or 2004. Honestly, I cannot really remember. At that point, I had only been working out and studying martial arts for about a year or so. I was trying to fix my life and get my shit together, but I was still suffering from depression after my mother passed away, and I was still fucking around with drugs to help cope. Back then, I was staying at my aunt's house in San Antonio, Texas, with my cousin Pizza and his wife and son, my little nephew Matthew. The reason I call him my nephew is because I always took my cousin Pizza as a brother. I grew up with him and had known him since I was first adopted. My aunt was still married to my Uncle Jackie, but at the time he was locked up on drug charges and still had a few more months to go. But that was nothing new for us, honestly. Like I said before, I loved my Uncle Jackie and learned a lot from him, maybe a little too much honestly. But it is what it is. Try to understand that when my mom got sick, I really just let myself go. I honestly did not care about dating or trying to have any kind of social life. I did end up trying to go out a few times, but I could never really enjoy myself because in the back of my mind I was always worried about my mother. But I was trying to change all of that now. I must have been about 22 or 23 years old at the time. Anyway, I remember I was driving in my car, the Grand Damage, and I believe I was headed to the mall to buy some new clothes and some workout stuff I needed. When I was stuck at a stoplight, I saw this sexy, tall, skinny Hispanic girl with those long sexy legs and long black raven hair walking by right in front of me at the crosswalk. Now, when I was a teenager, I am not going to lie, I was popular, and I had learned never to be shy when it came to girls. When I was around 15, I used to go up to random girls all the time and ask for their number like it was no big deal. I believe my all-time best was 30 different phone numbers in one day. I am not even lying. It took me almost the whole day, and I had to hit 3 different places, like the mall, the arcade, and other spots, but I got it done. And out of all those numbers, I gave most of them away to my friends. I kept maybe 3 for myself, and after all that I only ended up going out with one of them. So no, I was not some big-time player. I just did it because it was fun, and none of my other friends really had the guts to do it. But that did boost my ego a little, honestly. This was back in the 90s, so it was actually a lot more normal to meet new people in public. Even to this day, wherever I go, I am friendly and sociable. It is just what I learned from being around my Uncle Jackie so much. I also used to love reading books, all kinds, pretty much any I could get my hands on. So I did end up reading a few books on basic psychology and dating, which helped a lot later on in life. But again, when my mom got sick, I just let go of all that shit. If it was not for the 2 girls I had a long-distance relationship with, Sarah and Natalie, I probably would have ended up losing all my social skills. So I thought to myself, fuck it. I honked my car horn, and I yelled, "Hey you need a ride?" Amber smiled right back at me and said, "Yeah, sure, thanks," and hopped right into the passenger seat. And that was it. That is all it took. "Thank you," she said. "It's really hot out there today." This was absolutely during the summertime. "My name is Amber," she said in this cute little distinct voice. I was like, "Cool, I'm Paul." I was heading to the mall to just hang out, maybe pick up a few things. She was like, yeah, that sounds awesome. So we made small talk for a few minutes, and I remember I could not help but stare at her long, sexy legs. She noticed that, and instead of getting shy about it, she took off the huge heels she was wearing and put her feet up on my dash. Now, I am not going to lie, I do kind of have a thing for girls' feet, honestly, but I am not a freak about it like some other guys I know. It really just depends on the girl. I remember that Amber did have nice feet with long toes painted a dark red. At this point, I was looking more at her feet than the road, and Amber noticed and was like, "You like what you see?" smiling back at me. At that moment, I thought, okay, this girl is cool. She does not seem to be the shy or stuck-up type like some women can be. I was like, honestly, yeah, I do, smiling back at her. At this point, we had arrived at the mall. It was not a far drive. I found a spot somewhere near the back and put the car in park. I remember thinking to myself, I do not want to wait a long time before I make my move. So I gently touched her legs with my fingertips, just brushing her softly while testing the waters at the same time. I do not remember exactly what she was wearing, but I want to say it was these really short shorts, almost like those Daisy Dukes girls used to wear back in the day, but hers were black and not made of denim. She did not seem to mind, because she then put her hands right on my crotch and started rubbing me. At this point, it was basically on. I leaned in and kissed her while we were rubbing each other. I ended up putting my hand down her shorts and starting to massage her kitty, and she did exactly the same thing to me in return. I remember I was wearing my black 3-stripe Adidas jogging pants and a red Adidas sleeveless shirt. While I was massaging her kitty, she put her hand all the way down my pants and started stroking me. And I am not going to lie, guys, this got me going almost instantly. In a matter of 3 seconds, I was full size and ready for anything at that point. As we were kissing, Amber said softly, "You're kind of cute and all, but shouldn't we go inside before the mall closes?" laughing. At this point, I knew what she was thinking. Me and her definitely had that instant animal attraction thing going on, and Amber was definitely a cool girl who was not shy. But I assumed she did not want to seem like a complete whore by having sex only after a few minutes of meeting each other. And I honestly respected it. I never believed in pressuring girls into sex right away. Shit is not cool and only makes you look like the desperate one. I remember the famous saying from a book about the world's greatest pimp, and he said, "Always keep it icy, never let them see you sweat." So I was like, yeah, it's whatever you want to do, Amber. No worries. So we both hung out at the mall together. 1000% facts. Ronin Mode, Unmasked Raw Chapter 43, The Club and the Code. Warning story contains explicit sexual language and themes. Reader discretion is advised. We walked around joking, and I ended up buying us 2 orange Julius drinks, my favorite, and Amber seemed to dig it too. I did end up going to GNC to buy some vitamins and supplements, but I remember not really liking anything else and just passing on any new clothes that day. We did end up going back to my car, but not to fool around. I asked her, "Yo Amber, you smoke?" She was like, "Fuck yeah," so we both got lit in a grand damage together. At this time, I was smoking weed every day, all day, wake and bake. The whole family, me, Pizza, my Uncle Jackie, basically everybody except my aunt and Pizza's wife was smoking. Then Amber asked me, "Is it cool if you can give me another ride to work?" I was like, "Yeah, where do you work?" She named some strip club I had never heard of at the time. Now, I was not a stranger when it came to strip clubs because my Uncle Jackie, while in the middle of the day when we're supposed to be working, would love to just take the rest of the day off and pull into some random strip club. That shit happened all the time. Also, me and Bradicus had been to few times because he was messing around with some girl who worked at one too. So to me, it was no big deal. But I'm going to give you guys some advice. If you are going to go, try to find the ones where you can bring your own alcohol. Those places are much better than your normal ones. They are fully nude and the girls are very chill. I know, because reasons. Cool, thanks Paul. If you want, I can give you the hookup. I'm cool with everybody who works there. I know all the girls, and the manager lets me do whatever I want, so all you have to say is, I'm with Amber, she said. I was like, cool. So I actually took her back to her place first so she could get her clothes. I waited in the car for like 2 minutes, and then drove her to her work. At this time, it was not even dark outside yet. I told her I was going to go home, freshen up, and I would be back later to hang out more with her. She was like, cool. Don't worry, I got you when you come back. Just tell the guy at the door you're a friend of mine, and he won't even charge you anything. I said cool. We kissed briefly, and then I drove straight home. I cannot remember if I told Pizza what had happened or not, but he did not come with me. I did a light workout, hopped in the shower, took all my supplements, and probably smoked a little more weed. That was my favorite thing, taking a shower right after smoking. It just felt awesome. But let's be real, everything feels awesome when you are high, shower, food, sex, especially sex. I got dressed up. I do not remember exactly what I wore, but I know it was a nice pair of dress pants and a shirt to match. By then it was probably around 8 o'clock or 9 o'clock. I did not want to come too early because I knew Amber was probably working, doing her thing, and I did not want to mess up her hustle. So by the time I got there, I think it was more like 10 o'clock or 10:30. When the bouncer tried to hit me with a $25 cover charge, I said, look, I'm friends with Amber, she invited me. He looked at me puzzled for a second, like he was trying to figure out who I was talking about. Amber, the tall Hispanic girl, long sexy legs, dark hair, tan complexion. Oh, you mean Cream? Yeah bro, come on in. Anything for Cream, she's crazy. I was like, thanks bro. I walked right in, and I remember thinking, Cream? What kind of stage name is that? But that was Amber for you, hot as fuck, but not too bright, honestly. The place was dark and packed to the brim. I remember staring at a few hotties walking around topless, and then I saw Amber up on the main stage. She was wearing some kind of gold bikini and was dancing her ass off to Crazy Bitch by Buckcherry, and I thought, yeah, perfect song for her. I did not approach her right away for 2 different reasons. And listen carefully, guys, if you are going to date a stripper, there are 2 important rules you have to get straight first. 1, never knock their hustle. Those girls live on tips only. You do not want to ruin that for them by being too clingy or needy. 2, you have to let them know you are not a mark yourself. Meaning, you are not just some customer. You are there because they like you as a normal boyfriend. Yeah, they are women, so buy them something to eat or get them a drink. They honestly like that stuff way more, but do not throw money at them, otherwise you become just another mark yourself. So I just chilled and watched from a distance. When she was done, she came straight to me, ignoring all the other guys who wanted private dances. She guided me to this private spot all the way in the back where there was a lot more privacy from the rest of the club. We sat down, she was still a little out of breath, and I was like, that was great Amber, you really killed it up there. She smiled and said, that's nothing, you should see the other girls that work here. I was like, can I buy you a drink or something, Amber? She was like, yeah, if you want. I said cool. Then this super tall girl, and I mean tall, like 6 foot, almost as tall as me, with short blonde hair came over to us wearing a white dress shirt and black skirt. She said, hey Amber, who's your friend, and started giggling. This is my new friend Paul. He was nice enough to give me a ride to work, and we hung out at the mall, and he bought me one of those orange Julius juices. She looked at me again, orange Julius juice, right? And I said, smiling, yeah, that's right. Crystal said, that's awesome, Amber. Can I get you guys anything? I honestly do not remember what Amber ordered, but I remember I ordered just a beer, I think Coors Light, and then the waitress, Crystal, left to get our drinks. Me and Amber made small talk, but Amber did tell me not to worry about the drinks, just make sure to give Crystal a tip after. I said, cool. I did bring a little money with me, but nothing crazy. I think I had like $50 to my name at the time. But so far, money was not an issue. I got in for free, the drinks were free, and I did end up giving Crystal like a $10 tip for herself. The night was going well. Amber said, look, I have to seem busy or my boss will get mad at me. So I'm going to pretend to give you a lap dance, but don't worry, I'm not going to charge you or anything. I just need to look like I'm working. I was like, cool, go for it. So she got right on top of me and started dancing slowly, rubbing her body all over me, soft and sensual. She put her small teacup breast right in my face, then she turned around and did the same thing, but with her small, skinny ass rubbing up against me. Now, the number one rule at strip clubs is no touching. The girls can touch you all they want, but you cannot, under any circumstance, touch them, because if you do, the bouncer will 86 your ass and throw you out on the street. But this whole time, while Amber was rubbing her body against mine, I was touching her face, running my fingers through her long black hair, and caressing her. I definitely grabbed her ass at one point. She had put her golden bikini panties right in my face, and I remember at one point biting down gently at both of her nipples through bikini top, and also licked through the fabric of her tiny bikini panties, all while she was giving me a lap dance. The sweet scent of her natural feminine pheromones filled my nostrils, and at that point we were both getting lost in the moment. So we just started making out right there in the strip club front of everybody. And now I knew why Amber wanted to sit with me all the way in the back. It had the most privacy and was close to the back kitchen and dressing rooms. But after a while, one of the bouncers did notice us and came up to Amber looking super pissed. Amber calmed him down and told him everything was fine and not to worry. At that point, we stopped fooling around and just started talking normally. Amber said, I hate to do this to you, Paul, but I really should get back to work and try to make some money before it gets too late. I was like, look Amber, it's cool. You go do your thing. I'll be fine. Don't worry, I'm not some punk-ass mark, I know how the game is played. Go make your money, babe. Okay, cool, she said. I'll see if I can get some of my girlfriends to come and hang out with you so you don't get bored and end up leaving or anything. I said, no worries, Amber. So Amber left and started asking other guys if they wanted private lap dances. I just sat there and chilled and finished my drink, enjoying the music. Then a few minutes later, the waitress, the tall Viking-looking blonde, came back to my table and gave me another beer even though I had not asked for one. We started talking. I could see her face better now, and she had those crazy bright blue eyes, and I thought, damn, this girl probably really is descended from ancient Vikings or something. Amber really seems to like you, Crystal said as she handed me another drink. I saw you guys fooling around. Yeah, I like her too. She's cool and fun to be around, I said, honestly. Yeah, Amber's crazy, but she's cool to hang out with. She looked around. Look, don't tell Amber, but here's my number. She slid a small white napkin onto the table toward me. I glanced at it and then slowly picked it up and put it in my pocket. When you get bored of Amber and want to try something different, something more relaxed and chill, give me a call. And I was like, okay, I will. Don't worry about the drinks, Paul. And have fun with Amber while it lasts. And then she just walked away. 1000% facts. Ronin Mode, Unmasked Raw. Chapter 44, The Test. Warning story contains explicit sexual language and themes. Reader discretion is advised. So, I just hung out for the rest of the night, chilling. Crystal ended up bringing me a few more drinks. She leaned in over the noise of the club and said, "You know, Paul, you can order whatever you want, not just beer." At this point, I was like, fuck it, so I told her to get me a Jack and 7, which is just whiskey and 7-Up, and I tipped her again. The club was a sensory overload, neon lights flashing, the smell of cheap perfume and stale smoke thick in the air, and the bass so heavy it felt like it was rattling my teeth. There were also a bunch of other girls who came and sat down with me just to talk and chill for a while. I remember there was this tiny blonde white girl, not even 5 feet tall. She could not have weighed more than 90 pounds soaking wet. I think her name was Nicole or something similar. She was nice, sweet, and kind of in that naive way some girls can be. I remember thinking, damn, this girl looks like she is 15 or something. And judging by the kind of strip club it was, I would not have put it past them. The whole place seemed kind of shady, honestly, the kind of spot where secrets get buried in the dark corners. But there was this other girl with her who was sitting right beside me. She did not look like a girl, she looked like a full-grown woman with the body to match. She had that kind of Kim Kardashian-type body, but not as overdone. I could tell this girl was all natural. I think she told me her name was Melissa or something, who can honestly remember? She looked Hispanic, but she had light skin, and she was not fat or anything like that. But her body was banging, especially her ass. I remember she was wearing this dark blue miniskirt, and when she walked, you could see her ass swaying from side to side. She had super long dark hair that fell all the way down her back. She was a super baddie and definitely more my speed. So Amber told me, "You're a cool guy and stuff," the girl with the big ass said. I was like, yeah, Amber is cool. I like hanging out with her. Then she leaned closer to me and said, "That's true, but tell me, who do you think is prettier, me or her, honestly?" That is when I caught on. This girl was definitely a friend of Amber's, not just a coworker. She was trying to test me to see what kind of guy I was. Some women like to do that. They test you, or they send their friends to test you, or even worse, they tempt you, to try to see if you are the kind of guy who cheats. So, I learned a long time ago that everything with women is a test in one way or another. I've seen guys fold under pressure like cheap lawn chairs, but I wasn't going to be that guy. I paused to gather my thoughts, and then I said, "I cannot answer that." She looked back at me with her big dark eyes, somewhat puzzled, and said, "Really? Why not?" I said, "Because it is a trick question, and it would not be fair to give you a fake answer." At that point, I had really sparked her curiosity, because she moved even closer and put her arm around my neck. She whispered, "So why don't you tell me anyway?" "Don't worry, I won't tell Amber." I said, "It is an impossible question to answer because everyone in this world is a special, unique creature made by God himself. Each woman is one of one. Yeah, you can say one girl has a prettier face or another girl has what appears to be a more attractive body." I said this while looking right at her cleavage hanging out in front of me to emphasize the point. But that is not the only thing I judge people on. What about personality? What about intelligence? What about charisma? What about their heart? What about if they are a good person or not? I believe every woman on this planet is beautiful in their own special way. And like I also said, every woman on this planet is a one of one. Therefore, it is not fair to make comparisons or say who is better or not. She seemed to like that answer because she smiled and let out a little giggle, but she did not move away from me. Then she whispered, "How about a lap dance, sexy," while rubbing my leg at the same time. I was like, "Thank you for offering, but I am not really here for all of that. It is not really my thing. I just came here to chill with Amber and stuff." I thought that was going to be the end of it. I honestly figured she would just say okay, maybe later, and leave. But it had the opposite effect. Without even asking again, she sat right on top of me, legs spread, and started grinding against me while I just sat there. The DJ was blasting Nelly's "It's Getting Hot and Hairy," and at that point, I was like, fuck it. So I put my hand under her skirt and grabbed her big thick ass with both hands. She was hot. She was a real baddie, the kind of girl you remember years later. I still remember her to this day. She smelled good too. I remember kissing her neck softly, and her scent was intoxicating. We did that for however long the song lasted, and by the time she finally got off of me, I was completely erect. She got up and said, "Well, it was nice meeting you. I hope I get to see you around again soon." And I was like, "Yeah, nice meeting you too. Likewise." Then she walked away. At this point, Amber was walking back to me and joined me at our little table all the way in the back of the strip club. I said, "Hey Amber, so how did you make out?" She smiled back, "I did good. I think I made enough to just chill with you the rest of the night." That was awesome. I could tell she was excited, so she must have made some really good tips while she was gone. Then she said, "I need another fucking drink. Come on, Paul, let's get this party started right." Crystal came back and we ordered a bunch of shots of tequila. I remember I showed Amber the trick where you take a shot but you suck the lime out of the other person's mouth, and she thought it was cool. While this was going on, I could see the tall Viking blonde just giving me the eyes, like she wanted to rip all my clothes off right then and there. I don't know if she really had the hots for me or was just jealous at Amber at the time, honestly. But you have not really lived until you see a 6-foot-tall blonde Viking babe with crazy bright blue eyes just staring at you like you are a piece of meat. Like a predator watching prey. Shit was actually kinda scary if I'm being honest. At this time, it was after 2 a.m. and the club was getting ready to close, and Amber was completely gone. She gave a bunch of the other girls a hug and said, "Bye, see you later." Ronin Mode, Unmasked Raw. Chapter 45, The Aftermath. Warning story contains explicit sexual language and themes. Reader discretion is advised. At this point, I knew the night was not over, not even close. The question was where we should go, so I asked her straight out, "Do you want to go back to your place?" She hesitated and said, "No, not really. I have roommates and stuff, and I don't want to wake them." But I could tell that was a lie. Because when I drove her to her apartment earlier that day, I asked if I could use her bathroom really quick to take a leak, and she got this worried look on her face and said, "Oh, I don't think so. My bathroom is kinda broken and stuff." I knew that was bullshit. Amber was probably living with some other guy, probably her real boyfriend. I said, "Don't worry, we can go back to my place instead." Now, at the time, I was living with my aunt, but she was cool for the most part, and I knew everybody was probably asleep by now. Maybe Pizza was up, but he'd be chilling in his room with his wife. So, we drove back to my place. The night air was cool against my skin, a stark contrast to the heat of the club, and the city lights blurred past the windows. When we got there, Amber jumped straight into my arms and started making out with me while I was carrying her and trying to open the locks on the door without making any noise. I succeeded, but I knew my room was all the way upstairs, so I told her to be quiet for a sec and carried her all the way to my room without running into anybody. And I was cool. I opened my door and threw Amber down on the floor, not hard, but playfully, and jumped right on top of her, and we started making out hard. You know that feeling when you are drunk and all you want to do is have dirty sex? That was us. While we were making out, Amber told me to stand up, so I did, and she started unbuckling my pants in that sloppy, wasted way girls do when they are drunk. She pulled it out and just sucked on me for a good 5 minutes straight. Now, at this time, I was wasted too, but not too wasted where my body wouldn't react, so everything was working fine, thank God. Then I told her to lay down. By this time, Amber had changed clothes again and was wearing some kind of miniskirt with heels. I took off her shoes first and started massaging her pretty feet, then I began sucking on her long, sexy toes, the middle one with the toe ring. Amber was into it. She said, "Yes, babe, I love the way you do that." Then she shouted, "Lick my heels, please." And I was thinking, cool. Like I said before, most girls get shy when you mess with their feet, but Amber was not shy and she knew what she liked. And I was cool with that. So, starting from the bottom of her soles, I did one long, big lick from her heels all the way up to her toes. By her reaction, it looked like Amber was going to have an orgasm right there and then. But I was not done. The alcohol was kicking in and everything tasted 10 times more potent than normal. So I opened her legs and began kissing and licking all the way up to her thighs, and then I pulled down her black panties and started licking and sucking on her kitty, and I remember the taste was great. That was what I always found weird about women. Every girl really does have her own scent, taste, and smell. Every woman I've been with has been different when it came to that department. And I would honestly put Amber in the top 3 when it comes to that stuff. The rest, I am sure you guys can figure out. We had hot drunken sex the whole night till the sunrise started peeking through the blinds, and then we both passed out on my bed. 1000% facts.